In Chapter 12, we begin to start about talking about statistics. And the first part about statistics is understanding a statistical question. In this section, we're going to discuss whether a question is a statistical question or not. Here's some important definitions to make sure you highlight in your book at the top, the first paragraph on page 451. A set of data is a set of information collected about people or things. So things like height, weight, that would be a set of data. And then a question that asks about a set of data that can vary is called a statistical question. Vary is important. That means it can change. So based on maybe from hour to hour, like if I were to look at 5th hour's height compared to 6th hour's height, that would be data that could vary, that could change. That's statistical data. Or looking at your test scores from one class to another, that is statistical data. And a question, if I were to ask a question regarding what is the comparison between test scores from 5th hour to 6th hour to 7th hour, that would be a statistical question. Here they have an example. What are the heights of my classmates on July 1st? That is a statistical question because height will vary from a group of people like we just talked about. What is Sasha's height on July 1st is not a statistical question because it only talks about one person and one piece of information at one time. So if we look at this question, it says, the New England Aquarium in Boston is home to over 80 penguins. Which of the following is a statistical question a biologist could ask about penguins? And there's two questions. One, how much does a penguin named Pip weigh this morning? And how much does the penguin named Pip weigh each morning on 30 days? Now the first question talks about just today, just this morning. So it only talks about a one-time thing. It's not about over a time period. So it does not ask about a set of data values. It would just be one value. And you can't have a statistical question over just one value or one day or one time. So therefore it is not a statistical question. Question B asks for Pip's weight at 30 times. And it's like that Pip's weight will vary over that time period. Just like if we were to talk about height in your hour, that will vary. All of you will probably get taller as you get older, so that will vary. So if we wanted that would be a statistical question, would be asking how did 5th hour's height change from 6th grade to 7th grade? That would be an example of a statistical question as well. In your book, there's a question. Another biologist asks how old the penguin named Royal Pudding is. Is this a statistical question? Explain your reasoning. And the answer is no. And because the penguin only has one age at one time, so the question does not ask about a set of data that varies. If you have any questions, make sure you ask in Edmodo about that. Now, at the top of page 452 talks about a statistical question can ask about an entire set of data that can vary for a value that describes that set of data. For example, what is the height of the tallest person in my class? That is a statistical question because it will tell you the greatest value in a set of data that can vary. Remember, data has to be able to vary. It can't just stay the same. You will learn other ways to describe a set of data later in the chapter. So we look at this example. It says bongos are a kind of antelope that live in Central Africa. Bongos are unusual because both males and females have horns. Write two statistical questions a biologist could ask about a group of bongos. So one would be that we could say is what is the length in inches of the horns that a bongo has the longest horns. Different bongos will have different horn lengths. This question asks about the value in a set of data that can vary. Remember, vary or being different or numbers that can change is very important here. And another question could be, what is the weight of the smallest bongo in the group? Different bongos have different weights, so the question asks about a value in a set of data that can vary, so it is a statistical question. Now what I want you to do is in your groups, answer the try this at the bottom, question A and question B. So question A says, a researcher knows the amount of electricity used in 20 different homes on a Monday. And question B says, a museum director records the number of students in each tour group that visits the museum during 1 week. You need to, in your groups, write a statistical question you could ask in the situations described below, and make sure you do not copy somebody else's question. So therefore, the best case is to be the first one to respond, or make sure you ask something different if something's already in there.